Hey, Walking Dead fans, welcome back to the channel. This will be a little bit of some twisted theories, and we'll talk a little bit about the finale. Anglea Kang says it's going to be a cliffhanger, and some articles have been teasing about some theories about it could be a major death in the finale. So definitely spoiler alert if you're not caught up to season 10 of The Walking Dead. We will throw out a few little comic types of comments and stuff, so spoilers I guess for the comic. We'll start with Paul over at Forbes.com. Paul's always been a critic, I guess more so, of the show and kind of calling things like they are sometimes. But he has a theory. His latest article, one of them said that we should see this Carol Negan master plan unfold. And he's talking about, he thinks Carol let Negan out of prison. She's the one that let him out, and they have this master plan. He thinks that she said, okay, I'm opening the door, you go free, and on this one condition, you go into the Whisperers, make friends with Alpha, cut her head off, bring it back to us, and you'll be redeemed and forgiven for all of the things you've done from Alexandria and all of Rick's group. Definitely the problem with that is that she doesn't have the authority to make some kind of deal with Negan like that. And Negan knows that. So I think just by that, that's not what happened. And the other thing, which Paul does point out toward the end of his article, is that, why would Carol be running through the woods chasing Alpha and running into the cave and doing things like that if she had already sent Negan? If she sent Negan, if she was crazy enough to let him out and to tell him to go do that, if that was real, then she's just crazy, and she's crazy enough to chase Alpha into a cave, I think. But I just don't think, personally, this is my theory on it, twisted theory, dun dun dun, I don't think Carol let Negan out. I think it was Daryl. That's going to be my guess. And recently in an EW Entertainment Weekly article, Anglea Kang was interviewed, and she didn't say a whole lot. There were some questions asked, but she didn't really say a whole lot. She did talk a little bit about the cave and stuff, which we've already seen at this point. But the one thing she did say is about the finale and that there would be a cliffhanger. And there's several theories of what that could be. But looking at the question again, it was, how do you want to approach the finale? Because you do some different, sometimes it's all right, this is going to sort of wrap things up here. And sometimes it's more, we're going to introduce what's going to happen the following season. And sometimes there's cliffhangers and sometimes there's not. What light can you shed on that? And she said, I'll just say there's some big stuff and there is a cliffhanger, without getting into exactly what that is. But I think hopefully it will be exciting. So inside that question was, is it, we're going to wrap things up? She didn't say yes to that. And we're going to introduce what's going to happen the following season. She didn't say yes to that. She said more so it's a cliffhanger, but it could be a cliffhanger that what's going to happen the following season, because we do think Maggie's going to return. We do think that Eugene and Yumiko and Ezekiel, they're off on an adventure to the city. I think they're going to meet up with Princess. It's going to be the Commonwealth meeting. Could the Commonwealth meeting be the cliffhanger? Well, that's kind of what's going to happen the following season, even though it could be a cliffhanger as well. Is the cliffhanger a death? Does it have something to do with Maggie? Does it have something to do with Michonne? Does it have something to do with another character? There's just so many theories and possibilities, really, that it could be. But one popular theory that is kind of going around and some people are talking about is because of the name, the title episode of the finale. Does it tease a major death? The title of the episode is called A Certain Doom, and it's also the title of the collected volume 28 of Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead comics. I don't think a synopsis has been released, but from the title alone, the theory that people are coming up with is that some major character will be killed off in the finale. And that's because of what happens in volume 28. It sees Alexandria come under attack from the Walkers and the Whisperers after Alpha's murder. Things start going pretty bad for everybody, and Eugene is about to die, but he gets saved by Andrea. Yep, Andrea. And as far as the comics go, Andrea's still alive, and she is the love interest of Rick, not Michonne. Of course, in the show, Andrea died a long ways back. But Andrea was a hero and saved Eugene, and she was a badass in the comics. She was like the Sasha, like good with a gun and just a badass. And it was a tragic thing in the comic. I remember when that happened, that Andrea died. So since Andrea is not around anymore, and we don't think it's going to be Michonne, it's not going to be the exact duplicate kind of who is the love interest of Rick. It's Michonne. She'll be the one. We don't think it's going to be Michonne. The biggest character in that theory for the TV show this time around is Rosita. People think Rosita is going to get bitten, saving Eugene's life. And that's like the ultimate sacrifice, right? Oh man, could Eugene live another day after something like that happened? Rosita sacrifices herself for him. I don't know if Eugene could make it if that happened. And I'm thinking Father Gabriel may not make it out alive from this Whisperer War. So I do think Gabriel may not make it, but I do think Rosita will. I don't think it'll be Rosita that will die. And I don't know if the cliffhanger will actually even be a death. But because of the title and because of what it does reference, could it point to a major character death besides, say, Gabriel? I know there'll be some other deaths. I think Laura could possibly go. Some of the other, say, B-type characters could die when Alexandria gets raided. And in the Hilltop battle, I think there could be a couple of, maybe not major characters, but important characters. But as far as the cliffhanger theory, I don't know if it hinges on a death. And sometimes you have to ask what they consider a cliffhanger. If suddenly this girl in pink kind of rolls out and says, hey, I'm Princess, and it goes to black, is that a cliffhanger? Is that considered a cliffhanger? Or setting up for the next season? You know, Rosita has already perished in the comics. She was one of the heads on the Pikes from Alpha in the comics. She missed that death, so she's alive longer than she was in the comic. Because one thing to keep in mind and to think about is that this Whisper War could be over by the time the finale happens. If Eugene and the rest are going to meet Commonwealth, the Whisper War could be over. But, you know, in the comic, another spoiler kind of for the comic about what happens in the Whisper War, after Alpha's death and the Whisper War kind of happens, even though the good guys lose their homes pretty much, they kind of win the Whisper War. Beta is still alive and he's out there with a few Whisperers. One thing that happens in the comics, and I'm going to do a video a little more so on the differences from this point on in the Whisperer War in the comics and the show. But one thing the finale could be, and it would extend the Whisperer War, I guess, a little bit into season 11 as far as Beta still being alive, and it not showing that Beta's still alive. It's showing the 10,000 or so walkers that Beta and the rest of the Whisperers left over from the Hilltop battle sends toward Alexandria, and that's when they kind of disappear for a little while. So it could be that huge herd barreling down on Alexandria. And he ends up, after a little time passes, Beta comes back. But he's quickly put down, and there's no real threat there. So all of that could play out before the season finale. Showrunner Anglea Kang was asked on Instagram. She took over Instagram the other day and was posting a lot of stuff, and she was asked, give us a tease of Maggie's return, a one-liner, a tease. And so she replied, nick of time. She added in parentheses, does that count? So she said, nick of time is explaining Maggie's return. Could that be the cliffhanger saving someone? And could it be on their journey to meet the Commonwealth? Or could it be the Whisper War and the attacking walkers, and she saves the day somehow there? I think Alexandria and Hilltop get destroyed, so I'm not sure how she could save the day unless she saves someone. Does she ride in with an army? So many questions, just so many questions. All right, before wrapping up, I just wanted to throw in there, if you haven't seen the last few videos, check them out. If you're not subscribed to the channel, definitely subscribe for some cool Walking Dead content. And I did a video recently about, at one point I thought Michonne really did have Lucille and it wasn't Negan at all in any of the shots. But then I thought, okay, this is Negan. And I did a video that kind of showed some proof, I thought, that kind of showed it was Negan and such. And yes, I do think he got Lucille from the bat that Brandon made him. He had that barbed wire wrapped bat, Lucille 2, if you want to call it that, when he met Beta, and Beta took him captive. So I'm pretty sure they give it back to him, or he finds it, he gets it back, and he's using it either against the good guys or the bad guys. You know, the theory is that Negan could be really joining the Whisperers, but I and most of you guys, I think, totally don't think that is a good theory at all, that he really is in it to wipe these crazies out and I don't know if redeem himself is the right word, but definitely let the good guys know that he's a good guy now. But that is it for this one. I will see you in the comments below. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more dead stuff.